Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Veda and this is The Simple Budget. Here on my channel I show you how my family is using the zero-based budgeting method in order to get out of debt and simplify our financial life. If that sounds like content that you're interested in, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button and join our little crew here. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. All right, everyone. Well, hello. Happy Wednesday. Here we are with the long-awaited debt confession update. We have aggressively been paying our debt for a year now at this point. If you are new to my channel, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background so that I can maybe help alleviate some of the questions. My husband found Dave Ramsey, I guess about maybe 3 years ago at this point. But we only started implementing his baby steps into our personal finance situation here for a year. We had a pretty serious conversation a little over a year ago because we were in pretty significant debt. And so he wanted to employ the baby steps in our, circumstances and use them to pay our debt down. And so if you're unfamiliar with the baby steps, I'll go ahead and leave them linked below for you. But just as a kind of overview, like a general overview, and I don't have all of them in my head right now, but the first one is to establish a $1,000 emergency fund because in the event of a minor financial emergency, you don't want to thwart paying your debt off, but you want to have that kind of buffer there in the event of, a minor emergency, so that while you're paying down your debt, you don't have to put additional money onto your credit cards. And so we had already had that. And so beginning in January of this year, we were able to just go ahead and aggressively start paying down our debt, which is baby step number 2. And so Dave advocates for the debt snowball method, which we mostly did. And so what you do is you list all of your debts in order from smallest balance to largest balance. You don't worry about the interest rate or any of that. You just do smallest balance to largest balance. You pay the minimums on all of them. And we personally chose to pay the minimums plus interest so that our balance was not increasing every single month, despite the fact that we would be paying the minimums on it. And then you throw any extra money that you have in your budget toward your smallest balance. So that's where we are in the baby steps right now because we still have debt to pay off. And then after that, you're supposed to save up a 3 to 6 month emergency fund so that in the event of a more catastrophic emergency, you have money in your savings account. In our case, it would be a high yield savings account to kind of cover that emergency if it should happen. After that, he encourages you to start putting 15% of your income toward your retirement. And then after that, I think it's like save for college for your kids and then pay down pay your mortgage off, pay your home off. And so we are looking forward to those future baby steps. But we are, like I mentioned, in the process of baby step number 2, paying our debt off. And so that's why you're all here watching this video. A lot of you have been with me since the very start of my channel in January of last year. January 9th was the first day that I uploaded a video to YouTube. I was terrified and I had no idea what I was doing. I'm still incredibly tech unsavvy. And so figuring this out and the hiccups along the way has been quite a process, but I thank you all for joining me. It has been an incredible year and I'm so grateful to those of you who continue to tune into my videos. So with all of that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into this debt update because I know that's why you guys are here. You want to know what we've managed to accomplish in this year. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my little binder that I have my budget planner in. Oh gosh, I should have done that a little bit more cleanly. So this binder is not mine. It is from Jumping Fox Designs. I will go ahead and leave it linked below for you if you're interested in it. This is a female-owned brand based out of California. And I love it for holding my budget planner inside, which I did design and is available in my Etsy shop. And actually, oh, these are my teller slips. Oh my gosh, this is actually a funny story, completely unrelated, but I had used one of my teller slip pads for my own personal, finances, because I actually use the products that I make. And I lost this one. I couldn't find it. And I actually had this one in damage because the front page had like a little spot on it. And I was like, well, instead of damaging it out, I'm just going to use it since I couldn't find this one. And then I found this one. I had it tucked in my business binder. I have no idea why. So now I have two of them, which is fine. Anyways, this budget planner I have available in my shop. It is available as a printable, and then I also have it in a digital download so that you can use it on any notes apps that you may have on a tablet. The digital one is an entire year. It's like an annual budget planner, and it is, I think I have it listed for $12, but you can reuse it time and time again. And currently, I think I said it earlier, but just in case I didn't, I have a huge sale going on right now in my shop the first 2 weeks of January. I want everybody to get their financial life in order. And so I'm making my shop 25% off for the first 2 weeks of January, so that if this video motivates you to start paying your debt down and you're wondering like, well, how do you do it? And all of those things. I have all of the tools available that I use in my shop. And so you can take advantage of this sale that I have going on right now, because I want all of us to be financially free. So anyways, I'm going to pop back to my debt section since that's why we're all here. And just to kind of go over I'm going to go over each debt individually. So we followed-ish the debt snowball method. So we had 4 debts to begin the year, 2 credit cards, a 401k loan, and then our car loan. And the starting number that we had, our starting debt balance for the year, was $58,947.30. And that number was petrifying to us. So that is, as you can imagine, or was enough of a motivator for even me to take it seriously. I was certainly the person who didn't take our finances as seriously. I was frivolous with spending, and a good chunk of the credit card debt was my fault. So that had to change, and it did significantly over the course of this year. And I'll go ahead and, just hit my knee. I'll go ahead and, I will chat about those things kind of like as we go along too, because I know that a lot of us are in this position because we are also spendy type people. And when you're paying down your debt aggressively, it's sort of an entire mind shift. And you definitely have to work. You're not just doing the work of paying your debt down, you're doing the work of changing the habits that got you there. And if you are really focused in your efforts and energy to pay your debt down, that's kind of like a slow and incremental process that happens to you while it's happening. I don't want to make it sound like you don't have to enact a lot of self-discipline, because I certainly had to enact a ton of self-discipline over the course of this year, but I've also found just a complete shift in my mind and my thinking and the way that I spend and buy, and the allowing my brain to recognize that a lot of the reasons why I buy things are for this like very minimal and short-lived dopamine hit that doesn't actually do anything for you long-term and gets you in a ton of debt. So anyways, we started the year with $58,947.30. And so I'll just pop right in here. These were the 4 debts that we had. We had a Chase credit card with a starting balance of $4,762.35. The interest rate on it was 20%. The minimum payment was $100. And we had a goal payoff date of June of 2023. The next smallest balance was our car. It was $8,319.61. We had what is now a fantastic interest rate of 4.49%. And our car payment was $310.84, which is also a really good car payment. And our goal payoff date for it was September of 2023. Next was our 401k loan, which we had actually taken out to pay off debt before. And the total balance was $19,373.94. It has an interest rate of 1.5%, which pays back into our 401k account, which is good because it's paying us back. But that doesn't mean that we don't have to pay it back. And it would just be $446 a month. But it actually was like, 200 and something a pay period. So this just comes out automatically from my husband's check. We don't actually ever see this money. And that's kind of a good thing because whenever we do pay off this 401k loan, this money is just going to roll right back into, we're going to start contributing to his 401k again, because we paused that because that's what Dave Ramsey recommends, that you are not investing while you're paying down your debt. Because you need all of the extra money that you can get your hands on in order to pay your debt down aggressively. And then finally, we had a Visa with a $26,491 balance and 40 cents. The interest rate was 10%. The minimum payment was $197. We never ever paid the minimum payment. And this was where we deviated a bit from the baby steps as well, because since this interest rate is lower and gets paid back to us, we kind of switched our aggression to this one instead of this one. Because according to the snowball method, you go from small balance to small balance to small balance to small balance. We've shifted it a little bit now, and we're paying all of this guy because the interest is high. It doesn't go back to us, and we want to just wipe this credit card off of the face of the planet. So anyways, first up, I'm just going to go ahead and pop right into our Chase credit card. This one was easily attainable. We knew, because we were going to be benefiting from a magic month in March. And we had some spare money. We actually have about $2,300 of spare income that we don't have included in our budget every single month. That is because we chose to buy a house. We did buy a house, which is against the Ramsey method, but we bought a house last summer summer of 2022. And so we bought a house that was below what we were capable of financially, what the mortgage company wants you to max out your capability. We did not do that because I was sort of indignant at home prices. And I was like, I am not spending this kind of money on a house. This is stupid. Because I didn't feel like we were getting as much house for our money as we could. And so I didn't want to buy a house that was at the top of our spending capabilities. And that turned out to be one of the best financial moves I've ever, it was the only time I was ever picky about finances and picky about spending, because I was like, I'm not spending that much on a house. And so because we didn't buy a house at the top of our capability, we had, like I mentioned, once we sat down and worked out our budget, we realized that we had about $2,000 of spare income every month and that we could aggressively put that toward our debt. So we knew what our capability was. And so we knew that we could aggressively pay this guy off. And that's exactly what we did. In the first quarter, we were able to pay off the entire balance of this one. And, we haven't cut it up yet. I know that that's like a Dave Ramsey recommendation. But for us, because we only had $1,000 emergency fund, we just felt like, let's keep this one open in the event of a significant emergency that is going to cost us more than $1,000. Then we would at least have some credit wiggle room that we could work with so that we could come up with money like I said, in the event of a catastrophic emergency. That was what we wanted to do. And so that's what we did. The card is actually still open. We haven't used any of our credit cards in over a year. And so we were able to pay this guy off pretty quickly and then move our aggression actually over to our biggest balance credit card because it was so close to the limit that we wanted to take care of that one before we actually moved on to our next smallest debt. actually, speaking of our smallest debt, I will bring us over to that. Okay, so next up is our car. And like I mentioned, our car started the year with a balance of $8,319.61. And our car payment was $310.84. And because by the time we started paying this one down aggressively, we were on the back end of the loan. And so most of the loan was actually going toward principal at that point. We just kind of let those payments roll in. And actually from January through May, it just got the car payment, but it dropped actually decently by the time we started throwing our extra money at it. In June, we were able to put, the snowball sort of into effect here. And so in June, I got a $1,600 payment. In July, I got a $1,900 payment. August, I got just over $2,000. And then in September, we just paid the rest of it off, $1,365.14. And so this was the next guy that we were able to pay off. So the total balance is gone. Our car is owned by us free and clear, which we were very, very excited about. And so this actually happened, I'm pretty sure, actually in our Q3 update. So I'll go ahead and leave that one linked for you. I will, at the end of this video, my entire debt confession playlist will be linked too. So if you wanted to kind of watch them from start to now, so that you can kind of see the progress that we made throughout the year, if you wanted like more specific updates for our debt progress. And so I don't really have anything much to say about this one. This one was pretty like low key. There was no drama. There was no like, oh, we need to, get rid of, overage, or we weren't like close to a maxed out limit or anything like that. And as far as we were concerned, our payment was actually really manageable. I saw something recently actually that of all of the states in the US, Texans have the highest car payments, like the highest average car payments. They're like over $1,000, which is absolutely insane to me. It's like, no wonder, like, none of us is financially free. We're paying over $1,000 on a car. You do not need a car that costs you $1,000 a month. Go on Craigslist, find a used car. You don't have to be flashy and fancy. Who are you trying to impress? Because $1,000 a month on a car is absolutely insane. Like, I cannot wrap my mind around that. The thing is used, it's a tool, and it gets you from point A to point B. You have no business spending $1,000 a month on a car. If that's what you have, you need to sell it because it's just not worth it. Anyways, that was that for this guy. Next up, actually, is our 401k loan. Excuse me. Like I mentioned earlier, we started the year with a $19,000 balance. So $19,373.94. Our minimum payment, like I mentioned before, it automatically is deducted from my husband's checking account, from his paycheck. So we don't actually ever even see the money. It's $446 a month unless we have a magic month, because then we have an extra pay. And so another 200 and something will come out of his paycheck for that magic pay. Excuse me, the interest rate, like I said earlier, is 1.5%, but that gets paid back into the 401k. And so this is one where, even though we're not contributing to our 401k, and I know there are a lot of opinions floating around about that, but I appreciate the ideology behind the method. You don't have spare income to be investing while you're aggressively paying off debt, because you are losing more in interest overall, like depending on how long it's going to take you to pay your debt off. You want to make sure that you're throwing all of your spare income at that debt, because it's like a one step forward, two steps back kind of situation. So this is why we chose to just kind of follow that guidance and not be contributing. But we were still getting the 1.5% back into the 401k, and we were fine with that. So that's how we chose to do it. At the end of Q1, we had gotten the balance from $19,373.94 down to $17,881.70. At the end of Q2, we had gotten it down to $16,597.83. And then at the end of Q3, we got it down to $15,094.37. And what we were able to do for the rest of the year at the end of quarter four, or 1 year of paying down debt. But again, we haven't actually put any extra money at this one because of the interest rate and the fact that the money goes back to us, and I mean, all of those things. But even still, we were able to get the balance down at the end of the year to $13,800.84. We actually paid a total of $6,047.46, but the balance dropped $5,573.10. Let me grab my calculator. So again, this interest goes back to us, so we're not as concerned about it. So $6,047.46 minus $5,573.10 means that $474.36 actually went to interest instead of principal. So again, this money goes back into the 401k, so that's fine with us. But I mean, it just shows you, it's like, that money for what could we have done with $474.36 instead of having to pay it in interest? So like, that is something to think about when you're like swiping your card. You're not just paying for the thing, you're paying money to somebody to borrow the money for something that you can't afford. And that is something to keep in mind. If you are, maybe you did pay down your debt and it's creeping back up again, or you're in the process of like thinking about starting to become aggressive with your debt payoff. These are all things to consider, is all of the money that you're paying in interest to borrow money from somebody for something that you can't afford is money that you need. You need it in your life in some capacity, and you're giving it to somebody else for essentially not, I mean, I can't think of a single thing that I have spent money on that I paid that's on a credit card that was worth it to me to justify the amount of interest that we've paid over the course of this year. Because I'm going to go over that with you guys too, because I thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of go over all of the numbers for our debt this year, so that you can see like it really is not worth it. So anyways, so that is the end of this one. And so this one and our credit card that we started with a huge balance at the beginning of the year are the only two debts that we have left. We've paid off the small credit card and the car, and we are moving into 2024. And eventually we will be able to tackle this one, like put all of our extra money at it. But we are not able to do so quite yet. And I think this one, if I remember correctly, we've paid like 29% or something. I think that's why I don't have it all the way to 30, or maybe we've paid 39%. I think that's how that works. I think we've paid like 38 or 39% of our total balance. So, we still have a little ways to go on this one, but we haven't been able to be completely aggressive with it yet either. So once we get there, we're going to tackle this guy. So anyway, now we're going to move on to the biggest debt that we started the year with and go over that one, because that's the one I'm really excited to show you guys. All right, here we go. So this was the big one. We started off, this is a Visa credit card. We started off the year with a $26,491.40 balance. This thing was super, super close to the limit. And we were just like, that was sort of what prompted the entire debt, like, we've got to tackle this debt conversation, because when you have a credit card with a balance of $26,000 and you're close to your max out limit, that is not okay. And so this kind of got the ball rolling for us to have a conversation, like a serious conversation about our debt, taking it seriously, tackling it head on, and just aggressively paying it down. So the interest rate on this one was 10%. And our goal payoff date for this one is April of this year. We are very, very, very positive that we are going to be able to do that, maybe even sooner. Our minimum payment was $197, but like I mentioned earlier, we have never just paid the minimum on this one. We have always paid the minimum plus to make sure that we were covering interest and we weren't going to keep the balance increasing while we were paying our smaller debts down. So actually, to that end, In January, we did just make a $250 payment, and the balance changed like ever so slightly. But then we decided in February to just put $1,000 at this one, despite the fact that we still hadn't paid off our smallest credit card, because we really wanted to move it away from the credit limit, just because we didn't like how close it was, because it was scary. And so the next month in March, we did just pay the $250, but we were comfortable with like how far away it was from the limit for that point, especially because in March we were able to pay off our smallest balance credit card. And so then what we did in quarter two, actually, for the entirety of quarter two, was we, instead of being aggressive with our car, we threw all of our extra money at this one just so that we could creep it down below $20,000, because we didn't feel comfortable with it being above $20,000. So we wanted to get it down to $20,000, and then we were aggressive with our car. So we would have been able to pay off our car sooner if we hadn't done this, but we just really didn't like it being over $20,000. So we took all of our extra money, kept paying our normal car payment as usual, and we put it at this credit card until it was under 20. And then we went and were aggressive with our car, and it didn't detract us. Like, we were still able to pay off our car in September. So we were totally fine with that. So that means that for the entirety of quarter three, almost the entirety of quarter three, but July and August, we made just the $300 payments. We decided on $300 because we wanted the balance to kind of creep down a little bit more than if we were just paying the minimum plus interest. And then actually in September, because it was a magic month, we were able to split the magic month money, pay off the car, and then put $3,000 on this one. And so then at the end of quarter three, which you all have already seen, most of you at this point, our balance was $16,827.46. And since we paid our car off, despite the fact that this was not our next smallest balance, our next highest balance, we decided to be aggressive with this credit card. And the reason for that, as I mentioned, actually, when I went over the 401k loan with you, is because even though the 401k loan had a smaller balance than this one, the interest was being paid back to us. This one is going to the bank. And so we have decided to shift from the snowball method to what I think people call the avalanche method, where you focus on the interest rate. And so we decided to start being aggressive with this one. And so in the month of October, if you'll recall, we actually, my husband is a federal employee, and so we were facing a government shutdown. And so instead of putting all of our extra money at this credit card, we just paid the minimum, what we consider a minimum of $300 on this one, because we were saving all of our extra money in our high yield savings account, so that if the government did shut down, my husband, we would still be able to kind of pay ourselves from our extra money, because he wouldn't be getting a paycheck during a government shutdown. And we are actually still in 2024, it's coming due again. So in February, this is a threat for us again, which we just love so much. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. But the government sort of ish got their act together, and they passed what's called a continuing resolution, meaning they agreed on a budget for the short-term period of time. And that's what's coming due in February, like I mentioned. And so we took all of that money that we had put in our high yield savings account and put it at this credit card. And so we paid $4,477.72 in November. And so that brought our balance down to $12,344.12. Now, when this happened, my husband realized that at the end of December, we would be like just over $10,000 on this credit card. And he did not like that. He wanted us to start new January of 2024 under $10,000 in on this credit card. But we wouldn't be able to, based off of just the payments that we were usually going to do. And so what we did actually for the month of December is we took some of the, we always, anything that I make from Etsy and YouTube, we always pay debt with it. it's like little side hustle bonus income that we are able to pay in addition to the money that we earmark for it anyway, which is another thing that Dave Ramsey recommends, that you get you a side hustle and, contribute to your debt in that way. And so we put more money from my Etsy and YouTube pay than we usually would in the month of December. And so we were able to pay $2,470.31. And that means that we actually finished the year, finished 2023 with a balance on this card of $9,999.33. So we got it just under $10,000. So this year on this card, we paid a total of $18,631.87, and we dropped the balance by $16,492.07. So that is it for our 4 debts. We are very, very, very pleased by what we were able to achieve this year. We were super aggressive. We cut out all of our superfluous spending. We stuck to our budget. These are things that I highly, highly, highly recommend. A lot of our comments that we get on my videos is that, it's so cool that you guys work together as a team and all that sort of thing. I don't think that it could have worked this way without that. Like, you have to be focused, the both of you, on this task, because you can't have one person racking up a bunch of debt while the other person is trying to pay it down. And I would say that if you're in a similar situation that my husband was, because it was not him, he was the one who was, he was the one looking at our finances. He was the one trying to plug all of the holes that I was creating in our budget by spending, extravagantly, certainly living above our means. And so he just kind of had to sit down and have like a come to Jesus with me, like, listen, this is what our debt looks like, and we can't do this. We can't continue along this path. We are going to grow our debt past what we're capable of paying. And then, I feel like if you look at your partner in their eyes and have that conversation with them, it's like, if they can't take that seriously, that's a significant red flag that you have to work through. I'm making no recommendations on what you do from that point going forward. I'm just saying, like, you both have to be on this train together. It is not something that just one of the 2 people in a partnership can do. So that's and as far as, cause I'm asked a lot actually, like, well, how do I get my husband on board, or how do I get my wife on board? And it's like, honestly, I can't give you that advice. The only thing that I can say to you is, like, it's going to take a full on, we have to sit down and have a conversation about this problem conversation, because apart from that, I don't think the other person can understand the severity of the situation. Like, for me, it was like $26,000 in debt. Like, that number was just insane to me, but it was actually bigger than that, because if you'll recall at the beginning, I said we had $58,947.30 of debt. That is nearly $60,000 of debt. That is a huge number. That's like a fancy truck. That's, a huge chunk of a mortgage. I mean, these are like, if you look at those numbers and you allow yourself to realize what you could do with the money that you're going to have to pay back to somebody, it's pretty alarming. And I think that's like something else that you can include in the conversation. It's like, look, we have an entire car and a half worth of debt. That's a problem. And like, for us, our car was such a small, like, insignificant portion of that, and I knew that. And so that was enough to kind of frighten me into, okay, we've got to do this and I've got to take this seriously. So anyways, I'm going to just go ahead now and go back to this little page here and go over some fun numbers with you guys, because this is the part of it that is both, what am I looking for? Not like, it's exciting, the progress that we've made, But actually, sorry, I'm just trying to move my little owl into the screen here because I know that my friend Alyssa is going to just love him. I know she loves him. If you saw my mug video, she was excited about little Howard here. So anyways, these numbers are both fun and upsetting, and I'll tell you why. So I already mentioned the starting balance, but I'm just going to say it again, $58,947.30. We paid a total of $38,275.49. That means that we were able to come up with $38,000 to put at this debt, which is fantastic. Our new total balance of debt is $23,800.17. So we dropped our balances by $35,147.13, which also means that $3,128.36 went to interest alone. I don't know about you, but I can think of a ton of things that I would like to do with $3,000. Not the least of which is continuing to pay down this debt. But when I think about $3,000 over the course of a year going to pay back things that some of it I don't even know what it was, some of it I don't even have anymore, and none of it was worth $3,000 of my money going into somebody else's hands because I bought things that I didn't really care about, certainly didn't really need. That is especially infuriating to me. So I think it's important, like when you're really thinking about the total picture of your debt, how much of this money that you're paying back is going to go into somebody else's hands, and it's not even going to be reflective in the balance that you still owe. I mean, we are super, super excited to be going into 2024 with a $23,000 balance, especially after having started 2023 with a nearly $59,000 balance. I mean, we were right on the cusp there. We're just, we were like $50 away from a $59,000 balance. So I think that's the big takeaway for me, for all of us, is $3,000 of money. That was our Christmas budget. That was our Christmas budget that went to somebody else because I couldn't control my spending. And that's something else that I kind of just want to touch on a little bit before I end this video is there's a complete shift in my brain of the way that I spend and the way that I view purchases now. Don't get me wrong, I'm still the same person who started off the year loving her Christmas mugs and her candles. Well, just any kind of mugs, any kind of coffee mug. I'm a big fan. But it wasn't coffee mugs and candles that got me $26,000 or $26,000 on one credit card, $59,000 in debt. You have to shift your mindset, and it's something that is a slow, incremental sort of process. I did not start off the year wanting even to change my habits. I didn't think that I needed to. I mean, I think I knew I needed to. I just think that I didn't realize how much I needed to. I had a perception of what I was entitled to that was completely rooted in nothingness, frivolity. And it's like, I want a nice car and I want nice clothes and I want nice purses and all of those sorts of things. And it's like a feeling of being entitled to those things, but you're not. You're only entitled to what you can afford to buy for yourself. And if you have to put it on a credit card, you cannot afford it, period. Even if you can afford the monthly payments, the mere fact that you have to put it on a credit card and do it in monthly payments means that you can't afford it. And so that is a really good place to start, is recognizing that you cannot afford a single thing that you have to put on a credit card. You can only afford what you can pay in cash every single month. And beyond that, if you want to allow your income to be the thing that grows your wealth, you have to spend less than what you're bringing in. And so you have to look at that picture in a very real way and say, what can I afford every single month? what can I do to make this money work for me? And how am I going to control myself today? And it was even something as simple for me, like if I would go into Target, because the Target dollar spot, I've mentioned this before, she is a wicked temptress, and she will she will attract you with all of the pretty things that sit there. And before you know it, you're spending $100 on a bunch of junk. I mean, because that's really what it is. But I feel like it's those little things too that we pick up along the way that we're like, oh, it's only $3. Oh, it's only $5. And it's like, yeah, but that adds up. And so one of the things that I would do if I found something that I liked in the dollar section of Target, I call it the dollar section, but it's like $1, $3, and $5, and I think sometimes $7. I would walk around the store with it in my cart. And then usually by the end of my shopping trip, I was like, why did I put this in my cart? And so it's stuff like that. Like really think about the purchases that you're making. Really think about, is this going to benefit me in some way? And, for me also, it's like clothing. I am a big fan of clothes. I like them. I like to dress nice. I like to look cute, all of the above. And so it's even a shift in that, making sure that the items that I'm purchasing are needed in my wardrobe. And if they're not needed in my wardrobe, why do I want them? Do I want them because I actually think it's going to look nice on me? It's going to enhance my wardrobe in some capacity, even though I don't need it. And also, and this is another factor, and this is just personal for me, is it quality? Who makes it? Where is it made? How are the people treated who are making this product? All of those things have started to matter to me because instead of just focusing on fast fashion, I'm focusing on the quality of the product, the quality of the company that I'm buying it from, and making sure that it fits in line actually with my ethics insofar as I can control that. And so those are just some things that I have kind of picked up throughout the year, and things that have shifted the way that I spend, where I spend, and kind of also shifting my goals moving forward in the way that we handle our finances and what I want our money to do for us in the future. And all of that came from a year, just 1 year of aggressive, intentional debt payoff, debt pay down, depending on the actual debt itself. And we always say, like, throughout the year, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already March. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already July. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already Christmas. So that year is going to fly by, and it's going to be hard. It's just the same as parenting, right? The days are long, the years are short. And that has actually been true of this, because some of these debt pay down days have been long. I would stamp my feet sometimes because I wanted the money for this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, that's a thing that you have to fix within yourself. That is not something that is going to come easily. You're going to have to fight for it, and you're going to have to be more stubborn than yourself, which is a little bit of wisdom that my husband gave me a long time ago regarding something else about me entirely. He's like, you're just going to have to be more stubborn than yourself, because I'm pretty stubborn. So, but you can do it. And it's so worth it on the other side of this. I'm so happy to be going into 2024 looking at a balance of $23,000. Never thought I would say that. I'm not excited about having to owe somebody $23,000, but I'm so excited that it is so far from where we started. So I hope that you take encouragement from this. I hope that you don't feel like I'm like preaching at you without the right to do so. I've gotten comments before from people about Dave Ramsey, and it's like, well, he filed bankruptcy and he did this and he says that. And it's like, so what? So what? We've all lived and made mistakes in this life. Does that mean that moving forward, we can't offer wisdom to people because we once failed? But look where he is now. He's succeeded. And so he's giving this advice. He's giving this guidance. He's giving this wisdom because he's learned the hard lessons. And so I feel the same way about myself. Yeah, I started the year last year with almost $60,000 of debt. But am I supposed to wear that as an albatross around my neck for the rest of my life, and I'm not allowed to offer guidance and wisdom to people to get out of that because I made a mistake once? No, I'm a good person to learn from because I've made the mistake and I've walked through the muck to get out of it. So yeah, sorry not to be preachy, but I feel pretty strongly about this. Just because a person makes a mistake in their life doesn't mean that they can't give you advice on the mistake that they made. And so I'm the same. And I hope that you take inspiration from me. And I'm so grateful to those of you who leave me those comments and say, that you found this process that we've gone through over this last year inspiring. I never, ever thought that I would be a person who people would be taking inspiration from for finances. Like, it still makes me laugh because I laugh at myself because I'm like, I failed so big. But I hope that because I fail so big in front of you, you feel like, well, if she can do it, I can do it, because you can. And I want you to. And I want all of us to, because the only way that you can be truly free is if your finances are all yours. If your money is all yours, it belongs to you at the end of the day and you don't owe it to anybody else. That is the truest kind of freedom that you can have. So if you are in debt to somebody, pay it off. Find a way, do a side hustle, work extra hours, do whatever you can to get out of that debt, because when you are using your money to make it work for you and you don't have to give it to somebody else, nobody has your money but you at the end of the day. I mean, and the US government, because taxes, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's also another conversation for another day. But when your money is yours, you have the most growth and wealth potential at that point. And that's what I want for all of us. So I will step off of my soapbox now. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you have paid off all of your debt, please tell us what that's like. Tell us how you did it. Did you follow the Dave Ramsey baby steps? Did you do the avalanche method? Did you just kind of pay and pay and pay until it was gone? Like, tell us how you did it so we can all take encouragement from you. And congratulations if you have. If you have debt payoff goals in 2024, I would love to hear about those. If you're still in the process, if you're still walking through it and you still have years left, that's okay too. Tell us about your victories. Tell us about what you've accomplished so far. There's Mr. Simple off to the side, trying to walk past quietly.
I was sneaking so I wouldn't interrupt.
No, your socks brush on the floor. Anyways. Tell us about your victories if you've had them, even if you're still in the middle, even if you're still 2 years away. I want to hear about what you've accomplished so far, because every little bit helps. And that's it for today's video. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. We are still paying down our debt in 2024 aggressively, just as aggressively as before. We have not taken a break from that. And I would love it if you joined along in this process, because this community is so encouraging and so lovely and so kind. And I just love seeing you guys here. So anyways, otherwise, I'm going to be back on Friday with a regular old weekly check-in. I haven't actually done one of these in 2 weeks, so I'm excited to catch up with you guys, go over our spending for the last couple of weeks here. And then, another thing, actually some housekeeping stuff. My husband and I mostly me. He's just going to kind of chime in here and there, but we're going to do the Q&A coin rolling video next Wednesday. So leave me your Q&A questions below if you think of it. If you've watched this far, I am going to go ahead and leave a community post too, so that people can leave their comment or their questions for us there as well. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on Friday with our weekly, I will see you on Friday with the weekly check-in. Bye, everyone.